dwelling and pondering and crying doesn't do shit. And it especially doesn't do shit in this echo chamber. In this arena, there is no crying. You can cry, you're just gonna lose. And I have bad news about complaining and crying. Let me tell you something about complaining and crying that's really, really gonna hurt for all you complainers out there. Nobody gives a shit. And let me give you a preview who gives a shit. The following people give a shit when you complain. The other losers around you, your sick, broken parent that secretly wants to hold you down so that you're not more successful than them. And let me remind you one more time, the other fucking losers around you. So, here we are, heading into 2017. People are asking all sorts of questions. We still clearly are close, or it has to happen sooner than later, economic crush. Many people here, rich on paper. Go talk to a lot of 40 to 50 year olds that were rich on paper during Web 1.0 back in 99, 2000, 2001. It's sitting, it's flustering, it's here, it's upon us, and now we have to, more than ever, we have to start deploying self-awareness. If you leave here and start your process of really knowing what makes you happy, of who are you really, if you could stop chipping away the voices from the outside, if you can start figuring out what you're scared of, if you want to actually do something, even in the light of the picture that I'm painting right now, who are you scared to fail in front of? The reason so many of you are not doing what you want to do is you're scared to fail in something. You're scared that your brother will judge you, your wife, your girlfriend, your husband, and most scary, your mom or your dad. You need to eliminate that and/or own that fear and put yourself in a position to succeed. Because with all of this, we are now in the greatest era. For the first time ever, with no fucking money, with no goddamn connections, this can put you on the map. If you're good enough, if you are good enough to be up here, to make bling bling, if you are good enough, nobody's stopping you. Not fucking Donald Trump, not the fucking Russians, nobody. If you are a minority, if you are a female, if you are a transgender, if you're a fucking alien, the market doesn't give a fuck. If you make the best shit, you will win. Do you know how sucky it was to be a nerd 20 years ago? But now the market is rewarding fucking nerds, and now they're rock stars. Clap it up if you're a fucking nerd. The best part about that was some dude was clapping for it, and I said, clap it up if I'm a fucking nerd. He was like, it's awesome. I don't know. I'm so grateful. I was born in the Soviet Union. Both of my grandfathers spent 10 years in jail for being Jewish, right? Like, more people in America died last year because a coconut fell off a tree and hit him in the head than from terrorism. I'm just gonna say that one more time. Yeah, true. Funny thing about data, it doesn't fucking lie. More Americans died last year because a coconut fell from a tree, hit them on the head, they died, than terrorism. As somebody who aspires to be one of the great brander and marketers of his generation, I refuse for hate and horseshit and negativity to outmarket me. I will sit here today, I will sit here on the slides on every one of those platforms when they put it up. I hope they do. Follow me back there, you told me you would. Thank you very much. On stage, on those platforms, every day, 24/7, 365, I will remind you that life is phenomenal, that nobody gives a shit, so the government or your mommy's not gonna help you. You gotta do it, own your shit, but it's never been better. We've got a bigger chance than ever. We can do our thing. And so I flew from London, I just flew in, I barely fucking made it to this talk. All the fucking guards here are fucking gangsters, right? nose guards. I barely made it here, and I don't know, I've got some other talk now for 45 minutes about marketing on another stage, and then I'm flying home. And the only reason I wanted to be here, the only reason I wanted to be in Lisbon for 4 hours today is because I knew there was a lot of you, I knew there was a lot of youngsters, and we are choosing what to listen to on social media now. So we're going into what we want to hear. And a lot of people need to hear one of two things today, which is, this is the greatest era to ever be alive and be an entrepreneur or executive if you want it. And stop complaining and dwelling, because nobody gives a fuck. Thank you.
This thing is taking forever to load. Oh, why do we have to learn this? My teachers are so mean. They actually try to do their job. The thing about all these statements I hear on a daily basis is that they don't do anything to fix the problem. In fact, they may just make things worse. In 2007, NBC News tried to inform people about such things. It stated that in a recent article about teenage girls who vented to each other about their problems, from boy trouble to social slides, were more likely to develop depression and anxiety. This doesn't just go for teenage girls, and it doesn't just make you feel terrible. When you complain, your brain actually cuts back on the amount of neurons in the understanding and problem-solving portion of your brain. Thus, the more you complain about your problems, no matter how small they may be, the harder it can be to solve the ones that need to be solved. You need to learn how to complain effectively, and to do so, you need to think of solutions to your problems. Guy Winch, a clinical physicist, stated that ask yourself if it is something you would like to change. If so, consider skipping the whining and taking positive action to complain effectively. To paraphrase, if you don't like something, then change it. And if you can't, well, then you're just gonna have to deal with it. And complaining isn't gonna make it any more bearable. But we do all have those bad days where we just need to talk about it, and that is okay. But once you've blown off steam or you've calmed down, it's important to be able to move on and, if possible, take on some positive action. I also recently read an article on a blog called Journey on Coaching, where the author explained her coworker's daily life. Her days were filled with people she held in judgment and didn't like, food she didn't like, work circumstances she didn't like, and the list most likely goes on. I know people like this, and I'm sure you guys too. We all have that one person in our lives who has to complain about every single little thing. They don't make you any happier, and they certainly aren't any happier themselves. They have some kind of magical power to take a wonderful day and just tear it to the ground. In fact, back to that news article by NBC News, when talking about teenage girls who complained a lot, it stated that instead of making them feel better, it reinforced the small fears they already had, or even introduced new ones. In the end, they were more terrified about their problems than when they first became a problem. You need to learn how to look on the bright side, or if your problem is a bit more serious, how to fix it. Instead of whining about how your homework is so hard, try to find a way to at least make it bearable. I know it's easier said than done. Instead of complaining that your food's taking forever at a restaurant, just think it's a few more minutes you're out of the house and your parents can't make you do your homework. You need to learn how to look on the bright you need to learn how to change your perspective, how to change your attitude. William James put it as, the greatest discovery of my generation is that man can alter his life simply by altering his attitude of life.
According to the dailymail.uk, the average person spends about 8 minutes and 46 seconds of their day complaining. That's 53 hours a year, and that's 4,000 hours of our lives. That's right about 6 months spent complaining. But that isn't the part that fascinates me the most. I mean, 6 months is just a small period of our lives. What intrigues me the most is the things that people complain about. Like, for instance, you have people saying like, oh, Jonathan was so annoying at work, or Stephanie, so what she said something bad to me, or things like that, right? And sometimes in life we need to maintain a positive outlook, and by doing that we need to have perspective and gratitude. And I accredit 100% of my happiness to perspective and gratitude. Now, a lot of you are wondering what's wrong with complaining. Now, just to be clear, complaining is when we talk negatively about something or someone instead of accepting the situation or taking responsibility to make things better. For example, it's saying like, my job is so crappy, or I hate the food today, and not doing anything to make things better. Now, research has shown that when we complain or just hear other people complain, we tend to get demoralized and we start having negative thoughts. Because when we hear other people complain, we get badly influenced. Imagine this, like after watching a sad movie or listening to a sad song, our mood tends to change corresponding to that stimulus. So what that means is that after we watch a happy movie, we feel happy after, and after we watch a sad movie, we feel sad after. Same for complaining. When we hear people talk bad about something, a certain situation, we tend to feel bad as well. And because humans are inherently social, we tend to naturally and unconsciously mimic the moods of those around us, particularly the people we spend a great deal of time with. This process is called neuronal mirroring and is the basis of our ability to feel empathy. On the flip side, however, it makes complaining a lot like smoking. You don't have to be doing it for you to suffer the ill effects. And so just be aware of the people you're spending a great deal of time with and make sure that they're not complaining extensively. And according to 30 years of longitudinal research conducted by Duke University and the Mayo Clinic, when you stop complaining, it'll literally add years to your life. Now, what experiences do I have complaining? In Singapore, there's this examination called PSLE. Some of you may know it, some of you may not. It's all 12-year-olds must take this examination. And for you to understand how big this examination is, you must understand what's inside. So PSLE stands for Primary School Leaving Examination. And it consists of 4 subjects. Your first language, for me that's English. Your second language, for me that's Chinese, and mathematics and science. And for like the language department, you have things like oral examination, listening comprehension, composition writing, like 2 to 3 main papers. And then for mathematics and science, you have like 2 to 3 main papers each. Basically, long story short, it's about 10 examination papers in just a span of a week. So naturally, a lot of 12-year-olds will be pretty stressed out and it's pretty nerve-wracking. In addition, parents do instill the fact that this examination will determine a lot of things in life, like the next school you go to, the university you go to, and heck, even the job you get. And I'm not denying that fact. But as stressful as PSLE can be, it did teach me a couple life lessons, and one of them is complaining. And because of how competitive PSLE was, because everyone's competing against a bell curve. Basically, in other words, that means everyone's competing against each other. And because of that, I tend to complain and dwell on a lot of things. Like I'll say like, oh, like, I don't know, like George got full marks for the test, or Aiden got 1 mark higher than me. And by doing that, it not only wastes your time and energy, but it just demoralizes you as well. And this time and energy could be channeled into hard work, which then will help you reach your goals twice as fast. So stop complaining and put in the work. And next time, be the one that gets full marks for the test. Be the one that people complain about. Be the one that people look up to and say like, I want to be as successful, as rich, and as smart as that person. Be that person. Now, why do people complain? People complain because it's an excuse not to put in the work. And also people dwell on a lot of things that, tend to dwell on things they don't have rather than things they do have. And it's not like a naive thing. If you think about it, it's human nature. As humans, we always want more, we always want the best. And this vicious cycle, we always get caught up in, especially these millennials. They want the new fashion clothes, they want like the fastest car or things like that. And tend to get caught up in this vicious cycle. And basically this just drains time and energy away from us, and it's a blindness, and hence we just lack gratitude. There's a famous Chinese quote that is, there's always a mountain taller than the other, and it's metaphorically speaking, not literally speaking. And it means that when we think that we found the fastest car or like the best thing, there will always be something better. This relates to the vicious cycle that will never end, and we just always lack gratitude, and that's detrimental to our happiness. One of my biggest inspirations, Gary Vaynerchuk, is entrepreneur, great speaker. He said this: "It's fascinating that things like going out, cars, watches, clothes, partying with friends are holding people back for a substantially better life." And basically, what that means is that all these leisure things are holding people back from success, from a life where they can have all those things and more. And okay, first of all, raise of hands, who here has a goal? Long term, short term, doesn't matter. Who here has a goal in life? Okay, good. Now, I want you guys to know that the path to success and to your goal is long. It's an upward climb, and the terrain is rugged. And I'm pretty sure most of you are aware of that. But along that path, a lot of things will slow us down. And like the quote, leisure, going out with friends, clothing, things like that will hold us back from that goal. And when we reach that goal, then we can actually celebrate. So essentially it's saying, work hard now and then you can play later. Now, but how do you stop complaining? First of all, in anything you want to get good at, you need to be consistent. Like picking up a new sport or learning a new language, you need to be consistent. And for complaining, you need to understand that life will be frustrating and nothing in life will go the exact way you want it to. And that's just a sad truth. So you can't go like, oh, I wish this was like this. I wish this hadn't happened to me. And I wish this wasn't like that. Because time doesn't wait for you, and it doesn't care whether you're happy or whether you're sad. It keeps on ticking. So my advice is smile and stop complaining and just put in the work. Secondly, you must have perspective. Let me put things into perspective. When you're complaining about the food in your pantry, there's someone begging for breadcrumbs. While you're complaining about your electrical bills, there's someone with no roof over their head. And while you're complaining about your job, there's someone praying for $1. And this leads to my third point, which is gratitude. You must be grateful for what you have instead of dwelling on the things that you don't. And another very big inspiration in my life is my grandfather. He grew up in a very poor family. To understand how poor he actually was, his parents, you must understand how much his parents earned. His mother earned $2.70 every single day. Now, I know due to inflation, $2.70 is more valuable back then than it is now. But based on our calculations, it's about $15 today, or $14.73 to be exact. And $2.70 back then isn't that much for a family with about 8 kids. So, and yet he didn't complain about much. He didn't complain about his financial status, his clothing, his food, his friends, nothing for that matter. Instead, being the eldest of the family, he had to work very hard and give tuition to kids at a very young age. And because of that, and it's very inspiring because he didn't complain about anything, and yet there's people complaining about on a daily basis about very foolish or futile things and unnecessary things. My grandfather had to walk to the library to get books, go to the store to buy textbooks. All we have to do now is go on Amazon, go internet, and we can buy the book. We need to start deploying gratitude and start understanding that we are extremely lucky. Now, just know that the grass is greener on the other side, but complaining and whining about it will make the grass on your side any more greener. In essence, first of all, change your attitude towards life. Secondly, start deploying perspective. And thirdly, start deploying gratitude as well. Lastly, I always notice that people dwell on very unnecessary things. At the end of the day, that doesn't really matter at all. Because when you're on your deathbed and you're at your dying breath and you have a flashback, you tell me what comes to mind. And I'm sure it's not the 6 months you spent complaining. So you tell me why spend 6 months complaining, the scalability in which we could achieve if we could just stop complaining. We have one shot at this, we have one at-bat, one life to live. And if I could save just a little bit of time for you complaining, or even 6 months, then this speech wasn't done in vain. When you leave this room, you can do 2 things. Number 1, you could understand your positives, have perspective and gratitude, and be a winner and be successful in life. Or number 2, you can dwell on your negatives, keep complaining, and be a loser and never be successful. That's just the truth. Thank you, everyone.